Hello, my friends. Today, I'm going to talk about a somewhat controversial subject, and we're going to talk about karma and what it means and how it's accumulated. Now, before you click out of here, if you don't believe in karma or at some point you think I've got it wrong, there's still a couple aspects of this that I think that you'll want to hear, and mainly dealing with relationships and how to heal relationships. That's one of the main things I want to talk about, is why you should work out your karma now, or how you're creating karma, especially if you're holding on to anger. Okay, so what is karma? Okay, now I don't claim to be an expert on it. I'm just going to give you what my opinion is of it over studying it for a number of years through the ancient wisdom and some of the ancient religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, that sort of thing. But I will say my concept's not exactly the same. You know, I definitely have my own take on it. And so I'll give it, and that's what you'll get from me. Some people say that karma is like an accumulation of your memories over all of evolution, so to speak. And there's probably some truth to that. I think maybe Sadhguru is a proponent of that sort of thing. And I think there may be some truth to that, like I said, because we get things that are passed down in families, you know, the old family curse, so to speak, sometimes. And that can just be because it's been passed on consciously in each generation through habitual learnings. You know, you were taught certain things by your parents and you taught your kids that, sometimes inadvertently, sometimes regretting it afterwards. But for me, karma is basically Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so it's kind of built in. You cause pain and suffering is going to come to you. Energy follows thought, right? Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're causing pain and suffering to somebody, God or the universe is going to return that to you, because the universe is a giant feedback loop, or a mirror, if you will. Now, some of the ancient wisdom teaches that there's lords of karma that manage the whole thing. I'm not sure I buy into that. I think it's all built in. You know, it's you reap what you sow. you get what you give, good or bad. Okay. Now, how that plays out, well, your guess is as good as mine. You know, we can see that sometimes instantly. People get instant karma for their negative actions and for their good actions too. You know, some kid finds, you know, a couple $100 and turns it in right away instead of wanting to keep it. You know, and then the person that gets it returned gives them a reward. You know, that's some instant karma there. And we've all seen the videos on YouTube with instant negative karma, where somebody does something crappy to someone and immediately, you know, they get their reward, so to speak. That's probably the basic premise, at least in my mind, of karma. And it's all built in. It's all built into the universe pretty much. There's generational karma, and I touched on that a little bit in the intro. And I think that we do accumulate things over many lifetimes, and it affects us in this life. And people that we have relationships with, especially negative ones, well, maybe not especially them, but negative ones too, they seem to stand out more because they're negative. We get another opportunity to make it right. And that might be part of the crux of this video, is to make things right and how to do that. And that's one of the things that I really want to emphasize in this video. Now, I have some family members that can't be around each other, and it's kind of painful for me, and it's taken me a long time, and it's still hard to not try to fix it. You know, they're working out their own karma, if you will, and that's partly what prompted this video. There's a saying purportedly by the Buddha where he says that hanging on to anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Okay? And I'm going to modify that a little bit and say hanging on to anger creates karmic ties for the future, in this life and in future lives. So, folks, if you don't work out your karma, with especially loved ones and family members, you're going to have to come back in another life and do it. You're going to get that opportunity. And negative emotions, well, let me back up a little bit here. Neville Goddard says feeling is the secret to manifesting. So negative emotions manifest, and they often manifest quicker and faster because there's so much feeling behind them, so to speak. Because when you're angry, you want to get revenge or whatever, or you want that other person to be punished. And that's one thing about karma that I don't necessarily believe is entirely true. It's not necessarily a punishment. It's an opportunity to learn and grow, more so, if you ask me. But I couldn't help but thinking, because I've had a situation recently with my family members where I was trying to get everybody together, and certain people don't want to come because certain other people are going to be there and they don't want to be around them, and they can't forgive and forget and let go. And that's what's important. You have to let go and you have to forgive, okay? And that's one of the keys to clearing karma and even past life karma, I believe. You have to learn to let it go. There's a saying that your greatest teacher is the person who irritates you the most or angers you the most, because that's your opportunity to learn to let it go and to learn to love anyways. Now, different religions and disciplines have different ways of clearing karma. There's one extreme one in the Hindu culture called Bhairavi Yatana. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct. But it's like they go to a sacred place at the end of their life, and towards the last minute of death, they suffer all the pain and suffering from all the karma they've accumulated throughout their many lifetimes, all in a flash, and then they're clean, and then they can go to a higher realm on the other side, so to speak. Now, I'm not sure if I buy into that or not, but I suppose anything's possible. I don't dismiss anything out of hand anymore because I realize the more that I learn, the more I realize how little I actually know, or we actually know as a human species. As far as clearing karma, I believe it's mainly forgiving and letting go. There's even a scripture in the biblical scriptures that says good deeds will cover a multitude of sins, or something to that effect. And that is essentially the same thing. If you can forgive and let go and change your life around, especially if you're harming people in some way, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or even physically, if you can turn your life around and start doing good deeds and start helping people and have forgiveness and love in your heart, that's going to clear a lot of karma, even old karma. Especially that person that irritates you the most, because they might likely be from a past life another opportunity to clear up that karma. Or even some of the more serious stuff where somebody has physically harmed you. Now, forgiving and letting go doesn't necessarily mean you have to be around that person if they're still the same kind of person and they would have a tendency to continue to harm you in whatever way they have before. That doesn't mean you have to be around them. And there is a way to actually reconcile with that person without even having to speak to them or even still be around them. Okay? Now, I made a whole video on that, and I will link that in the description for you guys to go take a look at. And it's How to Heal Your Relationships, I believe is the title, or something close to that. Anyways, I'll link it so you can do that. But you don't even have to be around them. And I've used this on some family members where I thought there was no chance of reconciliation, and it worked like a charm. It's sort of like a Neville Goddard technique, or actually that's where it derived from, but it's kind of got my own twist on it. But anyways, go watch that video. If you want to learn how to heal a family rift without having to even talk to the person, without having to go to them personally and forgive and forget, because that's sometimes is just too hard, too painful. And it's possible, folks. We can do that because we are creators, and we can create the setting in which we live in this physical life. And that also creates the setting which we go into after this life. And so that's why it's important to be a good person, to focus on the good, to focus on love, peace, kindness, and helping others. John Lennon had it right. Love is all there is. Love, becoming the essence of who and what we are, which our true essence is love, is what will clear your karma and will propel you forward to be free of the cycle of death and rebirth, or reincarnation as it's commonly known. Okay, so even if you don't believe in karma, try my relationship healing thing, because it's worth it, my friends. So even if you're a traditional Christian, you're taught to forgive. And this will work for that too. And there's nothing that's going to go against your religious beliefs there. This is another important message to humanity, if you will. In my last video, I gave an important message to humanity. And there's a lot of important messages that we all need to hear and listen and heed, in my opinion. But that's really what I wanted to say, my friends. So I think I'm going to end with that. And I hope you have a great and wonderful day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. And peace out, my friends.